A lot of you probably see me on Instagram in very short form content, which is why I wanted to come over here to YouTube so I can have a lot more time with you guys, and it can be a little bit more unfiltered. It can be a little bit more conversational. So I can give you guys more in-depth information and just chat about things that you guys are struggling with or things that my mentorship students are struggling with. So I can help the greater dance community really understand that they're not alone. And I go through these things as a professional and growing up through the competitive dance industry and making a career out of it. So one thing that I wanted to talk about, especially as we head into the winter competitive season, and then as a new year starts, we hit the competitive season for the majority of us. So when this season rolls around, something that I get asked about a lot is how to not take things personally. And I think that question isn't necessarily directly asked to me, but I hear a lot of dancers saying, you know what, like, I don't understand the scoring. Like, I feel really defeated when I get my award or my placement, because maybe that feeling that you walked off stage and you were like, oh, wow, I did a really good job. And then you see the actual placement or the mark or how you rank in regards to others, then it poses like such a thing in our mind of like, we're not good enough. And I think as dancers, we struggle with that thought already of like, am I good enough? You try to seek external validation from your teachers, from your parents, from your dance friends. And then we bring it into this competition setting where now we're being marked and we're actually getting a score and a value and a place. And I think that's so hard, because what I like to tell those dancers that are struggling when they're like, why I feel so defeated when I get this placement, is that at the end of the day, it's just three people's opinion. And every single competition, those three people or five people are going to change, and they're going to switch, and they're going to have a different opinion on what styles they like, what styles they thrive in, what knowledge they have, and how they're sharing that with the dancers. And I think everything, as much as from an adjudicator's perspective, we're trying to be non-biased and really be on our game and focused for 12 hours a day, watching every single one of you. Things happen. And at the end of the day, we are writing down a score, and it's just a number. Like, as much as we put value and thought into that, it's just a number. So I like to remind dancers that at the end of the day, it's just a number. It's just a placement. And it's not determining your worth as a dancer or how good you are. Because at the end of the day, everyone has their own opinion, which is what's so tough about dance, because it's so artistic. It's not like you have a checklist of things that you need to do in your piece and check, 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 and they're all done and they're all great. It's so abstract, which sometimes makes it hard for us as dancers to understand the outcome, especially when we're just looking at a mark. So what I like to encourage dancers to do in this situation is not look for the mark, not look for the placement, but number one, look for the feeling that you feel when you come off the stage. Automatically clock and like check in with yourself of like, okay, how did I feel about that performance? Did I feel confident? Did I feel great? Did I feel like there were moments that I could improve? And just be really honest with yourself of your performance, because I feel like you have that gut feeling when you walk off stage of like, oh, that felt really good. And whatever placement comes after that, don't let that sway or change how you felt after you walked off the stage, just because maybe someone else had an opposing opinion. And the second thing I like to do is direct the dancer to, instead of look at the placement, look at or listen to the feedback that the adjudicator is giving them. And to give you a little bit of background on how we create a score, we always want to be justifying that in our comments. So making sure that we are giving really actionable feedback on how can this dancer improve if I am giving them a lower score or whatever that may be, so that when you listen to the tape, you can really see, okay, this is why I got that score and this is how I can improve. So I challenge you to really not get hung up on that mark and really change it and change your mindset into looking at, ooh, okay, what can I actually fix in myself and how can I improve with the feedback that I'm getting? Because it's all about just growing and growing technically, but not just technically in our confidence. So it's always important to check in with that mindset on where's my mind going? Is it going to the negative? Is it going to that self doubt, that comparison first? Or is it going to, wow, okay, I acknowledge this. This is where I'm at, even if it's hard, even if I don't agree, but this is where I'm at and this is how I'm going to use it to improve. So it's always a nice way to shift that energy so that you can always get the most positive experience out of what you're doing.
How did you used to do that when you were a kid competing?
I think that's why I am such a big advocate for talking about this, because when I was growing up, I didn't have any resources to talk about this. I didn't even know that this was a thing, honestly, until I started sharing on Instagram, because I always thought that I was alone in how I taught and how I thought, in how I dance and the values that I have. And the more that I shared like my true thoughts on Instagram, I started realizing that there are a bunch of people around the world that also feel like this and also have the same values, which just like opened that up to me to being like, okay, other people feel this way. So when I was growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't know that other people were experiencing that self doubt or not feeling like they were good enough or feeling that perfectionism come in or comparing themselves to others, because it wasn't really talked about when I was younger. I didn't even know how to navigate if I got a low score. I didn't know how to take that in a good way, which is why I want to share that. Because when I got a low score, I would get very angry at myself. I would blame myself. I would, I don't know, listen to the fact that there are politics and da da da, like all of these excuses almost of why I didn't get the score that I deserved, which is so challenging to navigate as a young dancer because you are just listening to what people are feeding you and the information that are feeding you. So if we don't have that education around that and we don't have that guidance on how to navigate that mindset, how to really change, if people around you are telling you like, oh, it's just like politics, oh, it's just this, it's more than that, and it's about how you take the situation. So even if the people around you are negative and they're questioning everything that's going on, it's our job as dancers, no matter how young we are, and parents, you can help your dancers really understand this, because it is hard at a young age that they're really good enough just being who they are. And going back to what I said earlier, one way I love to do that is I will always ask my dancers, whether I choreograph for them, whether I taught them, the minute that they walk off the stage, I always ask them, like, how did you feel about the performance, so that they can acknowledge that before anyone else puts their opinion on that. Because I think that's one way to stay really grounded and to know that your opinion is valid and your feeling is valid. And it's more important than anything else that happens after that point. So I think finding those different ways and different tricks that work for you as a dancer to stay in that good vibration and take things in a positive way, it's going to help you grow overall rather than hold you back. So, just to wrap it up, I want to remind you guys that beyond any placement, you are worthy of dance. You are worthy of feeling your most confident self, no matter if you get first place or last place. At the end of the day, it's not about the validation from others, and that placement doesn't define you. It is about how you show up, how you bring yourself to the stage, how you really connect with why you're doing what you're doing, so you can lead with the love of it rather than go back to that seeking validation and looking other places. Everything comes back to how it feels within you, how magical dance is. And that's something that I'm super passionate about, is we need to remember why we do it. And if you don't know why you do it, if you walk off stage thinking, okay, what am I going to get? What placement I'm going to get? I challenge you to really think about that and journal about it and see, really dig deep and see why you do this in the first place, because it's that feeling that you want to reconnect with each and every time, so that no matter what placement you walk away with, you know that what you did is amazing and that you are proud of yourself. So I hope that you take that into your competitive season this year. If you guys have any other questions or you have any other video ideas, leave them in the comments below, because I really want to help you guys and share the things that I always wish that I knew. So thank you guys for listening, and subscribe if you want more content like this.